All right. All right. This is Sports for Real. Coach Hall is supposed to be another AM sports bike, but I hit the wrong settings, and I don't have time to really go back and change it. So didn't have a whole lot to chew on this morning. Um, Conference basketball tournaments in full swing. Like I told you guys yesterday, uh, it's many good teams that you have out there in men's college basketball. Right now, to me, Duke seems to be the flag bearer, followed by Cooper Flag. And if you want to win a championship, you're going to have to go through Duke to do it. Um, Now, granted, this is basketball, and you can look like world beaters forever. But that one night, you might show up and can't hit a basket, can't buy one. You can't do the things that you normally do or get away with because the fortunes just aren't on your side that night. And just like life, you only get one shot to do it. Now, in the professional ranks, yeah, you can have a couple of bad games and still win a championship, but not on the college level. High school, if you do it before the tournament start, you can still win it, but nothing like pro basketball to give you third and fourth chances to win a championship. But in college basketball, one and done. And that's the only thing that's going to stop Duke, in my opinion, is a really, really bad night. Because the way they're playing basketball right now, I just don't see anybody beating them. But the tournaments, the lower ones especially, they already in full swing. You had a few upsets already, both on the men's and women's side. I just happened to catch a glimpse of Winthrop knocking off Charleston Southern, I believe it was, on a buzzer beater. And that's just the beginning of it. If it happens on the lower level, it's going to happen on the big level also. Women's college basketball is going to be some good basketball there. South Carolina, for the most part, seemed like the best team in the country, but somehow the wheels fell off a little bit there. They're trying to get it right now, but they're going to be a tough out. So both tournaments should be pretty active. But despite all this basketball stuff, you see that the Lakers right now, they are eight straight winners. After these trades, some teams actually come up from the trades. We talked about Golden State yesterday, how they won 9 out of 10 with Jimmy Butler, and they won last night again against the Nets. So the Warriors are going to be a tough out, but I still think if they're going to really advance, they're going to have to get some more production from Jimmy Butler. When I look at the box score, I see Steph Curry doing all the heavy lifting. If this guy is truly a superstar like they say he is, he's got to contribute more in the stat line. If he can score 15 to 20 a game, then Curry doesn't have to score 40 and shoot all these 3 pointers. Is he capable of doing it? Yeah, he is. So was Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie Irving took that ACL injury, and I don't think Steph Curry has ever really been injured. So you can't depend on one guy carrying the load, especially when you're supposed to have other stars on the team. Um, but the Lakers, that's the big story because they just beat the Knicks last night in overtime to give them 8 straight wins. That is notable because they made that Doncic trade, and Doncic seems to be playing fairly well with LeBron James. And that is a good sign for LA fans. But when you look at the flip side of it, like we talked about yesterday, the Mavericks, they have gone the complete opposite. First, they trade a star player for a I won't say broken down, but a high mileage vehicle that often breaks. That's what the Lakers got in exchange for a young superstar who might not be in the best shape, but if he's playing at a high level on the court, you worry about that other stuff later. Now we don't know about the in locker room thing, but don't seem to be an issue out there in LA. Now it makes the Lakers a threat, but the question is, can they make it to the finals? I don't think so. At some point, Oklahoma City is going to get over uh, that hump where they're going to get out there and choke. We know that's a pretty good basketball team, But for when you get to a series, things get a little different, and you got to make adjustments, the players and the coaches, if you want to get over the hump. You can't do the same things you did in the regular season and expect to advance. And I think Oklahoma City has learned enough from their past failures that they're going to be able to get by any of these upstart challengers, whether it be Golden State or the Lakers. So I don't see that the Lakers would be able to get by either one of those teams to make it to the finals. All right, JC says, good morning. I think the Lakers and Warriors would meet in the Western Conference Finals. Well, if you think that, who's going to knock off Oklahoma City? That's the real question. Who's going to knock off OKC? That's not a bad pick, though. But, JC, you tell me what you think about Jimmy Butler's contribution to the Warriors. Do you think that Steph Curry is going to be able to score 40 plus every night to lift this team over the hump? Or is Jimmy Butler actually going to put some contribution in the stat line? I don't know what he did last night, but the time I've been looking, his presence is probably one of the reasons why. I don't know what's going on in the locker room, but the effect of him, only they can really tell you. But the only effect that I can judge is what he's putting on the stat line. And right now, I don't think he's contributing enough to help Steph Curry carry this team. And at some point, Golden State is going to run across the Lakers. I don't know if they plan any more in the regular season, but that'd be an interesting game to watch. But the Warriors and the Lakers, that would be a good matchup. And I think if it got to that point, it's going to be a complete shootout, and it's going to be determined by whether or not Butler can contribute to Steph Curry. I think Butler would get better at these games come along. Well, they keep saying that he's a superstar. If he is a superstar, and I know he's performed at high levels before with other teams, I just hadn't seen it so far with Golden State. Now, is he just playing a role? Is he a setup man for Curry? That's a question that needs to be asked. But the Lakers, real good basketball team. As long as these two stars keep carrying them, they're going to be a threat to make it to the finals. Now, they probably can get to the Western Conference Finals. It's not like the West is that loaded with a whole bunch of teams. We got OKC, and you got the Lakers, and now you have Golden State. Um, I don't know who you would classify as that fourth team out west. Well, Denver. Denver's going to be a tough out because Doncic and Jokic, similar type players. But I found out the other day that guy Jokic used to play water polo. So that kind of explains some of those one-hand throws he makes. He can be looking one way and then find a guy that, just happened to pop open at the right time. He can see all of that stuff. And that's kind of the same kind of things you have to do when you're playing water polo. Now, of course, water polo is a lot slower, but you have to be strong to swim and do all those things that they do and still make those passes. So that kind of explains his athletic prowess a little bit for the fact that he played water polo. The 7-game series, I don't think OKC would defeat the Lakers or Warriors. Okay. If you're going to be OKC, the first thing you have to do, the first question is, what are you going to do with the point guard, Gilgeous? He's scoring over 30 points a game, a legitimate 30 points a game, and it starts right there. I think that the game plan would be to get the ball out of his hands and make somebody else beat you. Now, that guy, Jalen Williams, he can score. And I saw him put up, 40-something the other night. He can do it, but can he do it on a consistent basis? Now, if you double Gilgeous and make him get it to Williams and Williams produces, or Williams turns around and turns and facilitates himself, now the Lakers got a problem. Even though you may come up with a plan for Gilgeous, you have to know that they're going to defend you in a similar type fashion. So LeBron is not the primary ball handler now. He's playing off ball with this Doncic guy. So it's just a matter of how do you defend these two guys. Now, if you had a third guy in there, then it'd really be tough for them to do. But I see OKC, it's going to come down to heart. And I just think They hadn't necessarily had the heart to get past those rounds in the past. But I think you keep getting beat enough in close contests, you're going to tighten up eventually. And I think that OKC is going to end up in that championship game against either the Warriors or the Lakers. It all depends on how the seeding shakes out. Now, I like that team, Houston. Houston has got a lot of heart. I don't know where they are in the standings, but they can be pretty entertaining. I like that guy Green. He'll score on you too. Um, it's just a matter of the seedings determine who's going to end up in that championship game. But I expect OKC to be one of them. But in the 7 game series, yeah, you might be right. It all depends on what adjustments are made. And at that point, there won't be any adjustments to make. It's going to come down to who's the best player or who wants it the most. The player is going to determine the game 7, not the coaches. So, but in the midst of all this basketball talk, like I said before, it's just something to do until football comes back around. So before I go, I have to stick in some football. I told you guys when the Eagles won the Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts, that was going to improve the fortunes of a one Jalen Milroe. Uh, just before that, he had just pretty much been told by everybody that maybe you should just try to change positions. But he was adamant that he didn't want to change positions. You know, he measured his hand size and all that. That was too small. They look at his body at work, his inconsistency. They say, well, man, you can't play quarterback in the NFL. Well, he's going to go for it anyway. Then Hurts wins the Super Bowl. You got a running quarterback with similar style from the same school, um, who had similar hangups that he had when he was in college. He comes out and he wins the Super Bowl, and it makes everybody else think that, well, hey, I can get me a running quarterback too to win the Super Bowl. So the same guy that was put down and ostracized, he's back in consideration to be drafted now as a quarterback, Jalen Milroe. Good for Jalen, but I still don't think the guy's ready to play pro football. I will compare him to Anthony Richardson in this vein. Uh, you're looking at his upside because of his body and all of that, but I'm looking at his body of work. He hadn't had a whole lot of starts. Yeah, he probably could do it, but when he was out there, he was grossly inconsistent, and that was in college. So what makes you think all of a sudden he's going to be consistent in the pros? And as you've seen, he hadn't been very consistent. So the Colts, they even questioned whether they should continue on with this guy or not. I don't wish him no bad luck. I hope the light comes on for him and he gets consistent. But I didn't see it, and I hadn't seen it. And it's the same thing with Milroe. He's grossly inconsistent. Now, if he's able to run the ball, or his team is able to run the ball and he has time to throw, then he's a much more effective quarterback. But if you slow his run game down, he can't beat you strictly with his arm. He's going to do something to turn the tide of the game for the other team. So he's going to have to work on that. All right. But I had to stick some football in there because, as I always say, basketball is just something to do until football comes back around. And because of that, I give basketball their time, but it can't come without the cost of something about football. But and like I said, I only had a few minutes. I did want to say that the Lakers are playing some good basketball right now, and it's something for the rest of the teams in the Western Conference to consider how they might deal with this moving forward in the playoffs should they come across this team. Um, LeBron, yeah, might have extended his career a couple of years to keep playing with this guy Doncic, so that remains to be seen. But I do think that the Lakers can be a threat in the West. But in the end, I still don't see nobody beating OKC. It's going to be a tough one, and OKC is going to have to step their game up if they actually want to get past these teams. But I still think they are a step ahead right now. But time will tell. Just like these NCAA tournament games, you step on the floor, we don't hear all that talking, man. Prove it, and that's what they're going to have to do. So anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for this sports bite. Be back on in the morning, if not later on today with some breaking news. Looking forward to seeing everybody again. And as always, I appreciate it. Like and subscribe. Share me up, man. That would be great. So until next time, I catch you guys on the other side. This is Sports for Real with Coach Hall. I'm out. I got to go to work.